We got, speaking of exes, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Nice segue. I love
there
that.
we go. I'm a pro. CM Punk wants to fight and calls out Drew McIntyre. Drew says, "Nope." But officials come in after CM Punk tries to keep on going. And Pierce says, look, we're going to have the match at SummerSlam, and Seth Rollins is going to be the special guest referee. Another just perfectly done segment. I loved it. Justin, we are getting that SummerSlam match we all wanted. Seth Rollins as the special referee, though. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I'm glad that they didn't just, Seth has history with both men. Let's just put him in and make a triple threat. No. There's been so much since Royal Rumble of Drew and Punk. Don't muddy that. Get your box office out of that. You can have a box office with Seth and Punk later at a different event. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that they didn't just go that. But I'm also glad they're not just having Rollins just sit on the sideline because he really doesn't have anything else to do. Obviously, he's done. He obviously, because Punk screwed the last PLE, Rollins can't challenge Priest. So it's like Rollins needs something to do. So the refereeing thing the guest referee makes sense because one, gives Rollins something to do. Two, it adds some juice to the marquee having him up there. Three, it actually does make sense. And I wish Michael Cole and commentary would have been a little bit louder with this, and maybe they will between now and SummerSlam with the wonderful vignettes and stuff that WWE's production does. They touched on it briefly, but of no referee wants to get involved with this anymore. Right? I mean, we've seen the referees. We've seen CM Punk steal referee shirts. We've seen referees get knocked out. The two referees are asking for apologies from Drew. Like, I want them to be a little bit louder. The fact of like, okay, even the licensed WWE officials or referees are like, no, we just can't handle this nonsense. We're not putting ourselves in that danger, and so that's why we're going to Seth freaking Rollins. That makes sense. I want them to be a little bit louder about that between now and the event because they weren't loud about it as loud as they should have been tonight, in my opinion. But when you hear all that, it does make total sense. And this is gonna be fun because it's not doesn't like either of them. They all hate each other. So this is gonna be a fun dynamic. Seth's not gonna want to count 3 to either of them. He's not gonna want to, enforce a 5 count on us. He's gonna just let them just beat the hell out of each other and choke each other to death. There's a lot of dynamics that could be at play here, and so it's gonna be fun. It makes me think of SummerSlam '97 in East Rutherford. It makes me think of Brett versus Taker with Shawn as the ref. Right. Nobody likes anybody. Nobody trusts anybody here. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking actually when this came up and that allows them to also then pivot this once it's over into something different and gives them a lot of leeway coming out of this. I do feel a little bit bad for Seth at this point in the sense that the last big event, WrestleMania, his match didn't really pan out the way it was supposed to, so he got tacked on to something else. Now, this time around at SummerSlam, next big event, he's kind of tacked on to something else. He's one of my favorites, so I want him to be in his own thing, but it's just kind of the way things work out. He's in a good spot. I'm not worried about the fella. I just I wish I'd love for him to be on one of these big tentpole events with his own thing. But Jimmy, Drew McIntyre, I thought was phenomenal in this. I thought the way CM Punk looked incensed during this was just another. I'm gushing over this week. I told you I love this one. Just great segment overall.
I love the fact that Drew wasn't angry Drew and ready to beat everybody up, including everyone backstage, anybody, production crew, anybody with a microphone. It didn't matter. I like that he was like, he had that confidence, that cockiness where it was like, yeah, I want to fight you too, but not today. And in a sense, CM Punk, who is now, it was kind of like a role reversal kind of thing. So I enjoyed that. And I'm just wondering now with, when you have Seth Rollins as a special guest referee, what happens when you have one of the superstars as a special guest referee? That's when you get referees' discretion.
Right.
Not when the regular referees are in the ring. So now they're free will to go out there and do what they want. And he could sit on the top turnbuckle and let them beat the living out of each other and let it make sense. And that's where you can have all your bells and whistles after with that. Because if they wanted to pull out a table, let's say, for example, and go through that, do you think Seth is going to disqualify somebody for that? It's his discretion. He's the referee, right?
Right.
Now it makes sense. For me, anyways.
Jimmy, what are your thoughts on them having wrestlers be referees? Are you a little bit like, hey, like you make it look like anyone can do this, or do you not care? Like from the referees, like in reality, how do referees feel when they find out someone else is going to be a referee?
Well, the good referees like it because it adds some emphasis to the match. It adds importance to the match and makes it feel like it's something that we can't handle because we're not supposed to be the tough guys in the ring. If you have a Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special enforcer or a special referee, then you're saying, okay, here's a guy who could handle anything. It doesn't matter who's in the ring. If they get saucy, guess what? They're going to get some sauce back and that sort of thing. So in certain situations, it works. And in this situation, it does work. And especially with that dynamic where nobody likes each other. They all have an issue with each other. So it kind of plays into it perfectly.
I thought you were going to say the good referees like it because it means you don't have to work as much.
I was trying to keep that to myself. I didn't want
Jimmy,
work smarter, not harder.
Jimmy, talk about getting saucy. And obviously the great Earl Hebner was just on TV the other day.
Yeah.
Do you remember this spot? They might have done it many a times on like house shows and stuff like that. But there's one time I can remember on a pay-per-view. Do you remember this real quick? It was a May in Your House. I think it was 97.
Was this with Hunter?
No, there's another one with Hunter. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This was Undertaker versus Stone Cold. Stone Cold was not yet quite Stone Cold, but that was the match. It was an In Your House. I mean, I want to say it might have been like In Your House, Cold Day in Hell, something like that. And like all the Hart Foundation was ringside. I think the finish even had like Pillman like hitting the bell or whatever. But in the match, before we got to the finish, at one point, Hebner like was admonishing Austin, who's technically the heel still because Taker's the face.
Right.
He's admonishing Austin, and Hebner turns his back to check on Taker, and Austin starts like middle finger and MFing him this and that or whatever. And then about somewhere like 30 seconds later, Hebner and Austin are at it, and Hebner gives him the receipt and gives him a big middle finger and F you audibly to him. And the sequence is so awesome. It was like the most badass saucy that I've ever seen a referee up to that point in my life ever be. And it's always stood out in my mind. I don't know if you remember it or not, but
I do kind of remember it. But it was Earl. Every once in a while, you get somebody like you get a little Nate doing a little Nate thing every once in a while. See, when it fits the situation.
Or the first time I ever saw the heel holding on to the rope to cinch in that extra pressure on the submission, and then when they wouldn't break, the referee kicks the.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that spot, and people, it gets a reaction. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I only do it when I'm told to do it. I'm not going to go into business for myself. Trust me.
What was the sauciest moment you ever had, Jimmy? Did you get any good ones where you got to be saucy to a wrestler?
I don't know how saucy. I've a little bit at times.
Well, you kick their hands.
Well, I've done a spot where I've kicked their hand off the rope. I accidentally caused Val Venus one time to crotch himself when he was going for the money shot. It was against D'Lo Brown, and he had grabbed D'Lo Brown's chest protector and put it on himself. And of course, commentary was putting it over like, well, D'Lo Brown has been cleared to wear it, not Val Venus. So I'm trying to stop him. So I grabbed his foot, and he accidentally crotched himself. Then afterwards, I ate a money shot after that. So
yeah, you damaged the big Valboski.
Yeah. And I paid for it, trust me.
By the way, Flobo Boyce in the chat, of course, host here on Wrestling Inc. His favorite wrestler of all time is D'Lo Brown. So shout out to Flobo and to D'Lo Brown. I guess
some of the best entrance music ever.
You're looking at the real deal. So good. Now, what? Wrestle was that?
Your ass is beat. Victory is sweet. Bring it on. Here's your receipt. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do about it? I love that song.
Tremendous.
Oh my!
Look at that pool. How quick that pool was there.
That was such a good song. Justin, you're the DJ tonight, man. You got all that. But that had to be the music for.
I think so, yeah.
Or something like that. Anyways,
I also remember the lyrics of Disco Inferno's entrance music in WCW. That's how lame I am.
Disco Fever. Disco.
He's so cocky. He's so cool. He's just a disco dancing fool. When he gets out on the floor, he makes the girls go more, 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 more. Disco.
Was that a Jimmy Hart song?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Look, everyone.
I can see Jimmy snapping and pitching it to the
looking exactly how he's always
same
looked.
Way he's looked for 45 years.
I love it.
Oh my goodness.